Model Horse Tack School. My name is Carrie, and today we're going to talk about dyeing leather. I really haven't talked about this. I usually say just dye it, but I'll show you what I do with small pieces like this. So let's say I don't want to do a whole thing of leather. I just want to dye what I've cut out. Then after I've cut out the pieces, I need some type of surface that's, going to hold on to the dye. And usually it's a paper plate. I use them over and over again. Don't use paper towels. You can use newspaper. Paper towels have a tendency to transfer the pattern. So this pattern here, depending upon what your paper towels are, these are squares, sometimes they're round, but they can transfer this to the leather. So don't use those. Definitely, newspaper is great if you want to. So let's talk about the different types of dye. EcoFlow is water-based. I don't think the penetration is as good, but it doesn't smell as bad. And then you have your, this is the regular Phoebing's dye. And this here, I believe, is it's a solvent, not water, but solvent. It's got ethanol, so alcohol-ish. So that penetrates a little bit better. There's also a pro dye. You can't get it mailed to you. I think it has to go ground if it does get mailed to you. And it's got the best penetration, but it's not always easy to get either. I have some of it. But your best bet is either the EcoFlow or the Phoebing's regular dye. I usually will lay out the pieces on whatever surface. I have something that I can hold them down because this is dye, okay? So there's no washing it off. Once it's on, it's on. These pieces are going to be a light brown, so there we go. Just have all this new dye that I got from Tandy, so I don't want to do a whole skin or, I just really want to dye just what I'm going to use for that particular saddle set. Wow, I'm sticking that in way too far. So for an applicator, of course, here I'm using a brush, and keep the bottle close enough that I don't drip any place, because I just say, there's not a lot of cleanup you can do with dye. Once it gets on, it's on forever. And so, and the deeper penetrating it is, the harder it is to remove. So I like to make sure I get a good saturation so that I don't have streaks, kind of like no streaks. So, see how it penetrates. It just really sucks up the dye, and that's good, because that means you're getting it, all the way, and it shouldn't have any streakiness in it. I don't do the backside when I do it this way, so that does help save you some dye. If you don't put on enough, you get the streakiness, and I don't want that. I want the dark brown. I don't want the orange, right? So, and if I do it wrong, see how you can get that really easily. So I just want to make sure I get it all the way, penetrated. And sometimes I have to put a little bit more all the way on. Okay, so you could dip them if you had a pair of tweezers, locking tweezers. I used to do that, and that gets both sides. It's also very quick, but this is okay, and you don't need special containers for pouring the dye into. I can just keep my one container, and I want you to see nice penetration on this dye. It doesn't sit on the surface, it goes right in. Sometimes the EcoFlow, some of the dyes, sometimes on some leathers it doesn't penetrate. It just kind of sits on the top instead of getting nice and deep down. So we do want to avoid things like that. That can be a problem, what I just did there. So Try not to do drippy drippies like I just did. So, and this is me doing my best to not brown my fingers. A pair of gloves are helpful if you want, but this should work too. And then you let it dry to the touch. Give it an hour at least. Hopefully you can just let it dry overnight just in case. The one dye I don't like is USMC Black. It absolutely sits right on the top. So, and then it just gets all over your hands. I don't know, maybe I got a bad batch or something, but it was the only dye I could find for a while, so that was the only black I had. And I just really not a fan. Not a fan. And hopefully this will dry up a little and you'll see what the color is, because this is the wet color, not the dry color. And then for something like this, a bigger piece, I like to start in the middle, work outwards. So see how important it is to get it all saturated and sucked up so that you don't end up with mottled color. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish up there. That there needed a little bit. Now it still needs to be edge coated. If you dip it in to the dye instead of painting like this, you probably wouldn't have to edge coat, because then all the edges would be coated. But edge coat anyways, just because it's a subtle finishing detail that your saddle should have. So thank you for spending time with me today. Hope you learned something. Like, subscribe, tell all your horsey friends about this channel so they can learn to tack too, and have yourself a really good day.